All right, we are live. Thanks for joining, everybody. I'm Kat. This is Amy, and we've got Freya Moosbrugger. How are you, Freya?
Good, thank you. Thanks for having me on today.
Of course, it's our pleasure. We're trying to get up with everybody that's headed to the CrossFit Games, and we tried to talk to you before the Atlas Games, and you and I had a very nice conversation. And I think 3 people saw it before we pulled it down because we had some major audio issues with it, unfortunately. So hopefully today goes a little better, but I'm going to pretend like we haven't talked before so
Okay.
that we don't miss anything, because we had a good chat, and I thought it went pretty well. So first and foremost, congratulations on your 4th place finish at Atlas Games.
Thank you. I'm
Second
super
time's a
stoked.
charm, right?
Yeah, I mean, this year it was the goal to make the game, so I'm really happy that I pulled through and qualified, and now I get to be a CrossFit Games athlete forever. No one can take that away from me. So
That's super cool. So let's talk a little bit about some of the things that you changed up in your training routine from the last Atlas Games to now. Like what happened and changed that you think maybe got you to that next level?
well, the biggest thing was starting with Michelle Letandre, my new coach, and having her expertise and knowledge really. I had a good foot going into the Atlas Games, and I worked really hard that year on weaknesses that I knew that I had from last semifinals. And sure enough, those movements showed up again, and this time I was able to have higher placings in those events. And I was just really happy of the year of experience that I had. And with COVID, nothing being online this year, I got some in-person experience at Wadapalooza before semifinals, which I think was really important leading up to that. Because in-person competitions are a different ball game.
Yeah, for sure. Do you feel like you excel more at the in-person stuff?
For sure, yeah. And
Yeah.
then even at Atlas, a lot of it was there was a lot of gymnastics, and that was one thing that kept me out last year. And so to come into it and just do well personally in those events was a big showing of the year of hard work that happened.
Mm-hmm.
Do you find
That's
it
great.
more nerve-wracking to be doing it online and kind of not knowing where you are placed and what you need to do, or do you find it more nerve-wracking being around the competitors and that high pressure?
I think it's a different type of nerves for each one. Yeah, the unknown with online, it's more so an annoyance because you can pace off other people on the floor. But at the same time, the online, it just feels like an open or quarterfinals. Like last year, it didn't feel like a lot was at stake. And also, I had a different mindset. I was just happy to be competing at a semifinal, even though it was online. So there's pros and cons to both, but I think competing in person is really where it's at.
Are you just 20 years old?
Yeah.
Okay, so I looked at who was at the Atlas game. It looks like there's about 5 or 6 of you that are 20 or younger,
Yeah.
and 3 of you are going to the CrossFit Games.
Yeah.
Emma Lawson, Paige Powers, and yourself. Is there some sort of camaraderie amongst the younger kids that are competing at these, or do you all know each other from teenage years competing and things like that? What does that culture sort of look like?
Well, I definitely, when I first started, I was 16. And so I was very well aware of the top girls in the teens. They didn't so much know me because I never got to compete at the games level as a teen. But I definitely looked up to those girls. So it's cool that we all aged up and got competitive in the individual category as well. I think with no matter the age, there's camaraderie amongst us competitors. And I think it's cool to see all us young guns coming up and, holding our own. But I really don't think age plays a factor into it at all.
Interesting. So what makes you say that?
I think if you're competing at this high level, as a younger person, you have a sense of maturity and you're able to be around, let's say, 20 to 30-year-olds and be able to hold a conversation with them and get to know them on a more personal level. It's not purely just competitive nature coming into that. Like I'm able to talk to those older girls and not feel intimidated.
Do you think part of that maturity comes from some of the things that you've experienced in the past in terms of, like, talk a little bit about the Hyland dancing that you did?
Oh, yeah, for sure. So, I mean, we all have different sport backgrounds, but I think if you're a, a kid and you dedicate yourself to a sport, you're already a step ahead of maybe some of the peers that you were in school with because you have that dedication and that drive. I think it just sets you apart from other people. So that's what we all have in common as athletic kids. But
And I'm going to guess too that you competed with or against folks in the dancing world that maybe were a little bit older than you.
The ages ranged in dance. We do have quite a short lifespan because it's pretty hard on your body. I think in the 20 age category, it's pretty rare to see super high level competitors. There are the anomalies. Like there's been this woman who's been dancing for years. She had a kid. She actually reminds me of Annie Thor's daughter, and she just recently won the Canadian Championships for Hyland dancing. But it's pretty rare to see older generations go far in dancing.
I think what I meant was that you were probably so accomplished that maybe, when you were 12, were you dancing with 14-year-olds? You know what I mean? Like when you were 14, dancing with 16-year-olds, like that kind of thing. I feel like you guys are all good at what you do, and you're so good that you tend to sort of age up because of your ability.
Yeah, and actually when I was 12, I met my now best friend when she was 18, and we just clicked right away. So, I mean, on the outside, it's weird that a 12-year-old gets along so well with an 18-year-old, but in that dancing community, you're friends with people who are younger than you by 5 years and older than you by 8 or 10 years. So we do all get along really well.
And I was going to ask about socially now. I mean, I get now you may not have a lot of opportunities for social engagements just because you're high in the games prep, but socially, do you find that your peers are a part of the CrossFit group, or do you have peers, from school that maybe just didn't participate in CrossFit and that's who you're spending your time with?
Well, I'd say the majority of my friends are the gym friends. And then also that age group is a little bit older as well. So I feel like just being amongst an older age group, it also matures you as well. And growing up around adults, you hear about their adult lives, and I feel like that just puts you into a higher age bracket of maturity as well. So, I mean, there are pros and cons to that. Not getting along super well with maybe say peers your own age, being like, oh, their values are different or anything like that. So, I mean, yeah, like I said, pros and cons.
Sure.
Yeah. You're pretty well traveled too. Was that due to your dancing background? Like, you've been all over the place. As a young person, it just seems unusual to me.
A bit of both. With Hyland Dance, it's Scottish, right? So we would travel over to Europe for the World Championships, and a lot of big competitions happened nationally across Canada. So I got to see a lot of my own country, which is really cool. Canada is so big that a lot of people or a lot of Canadians don't actually get to see their whole country. So it was really cool that I got to see different parts because the national championships were held in a different province every year. So it was cool to travel around for that a bit. I went to Hawaii for a competition. That was really cool. Very hot though, in a kilt and 30-degree weather. Well, I mean, you guys are in Fahrenheit. I want to
30 Celsius. We get it. It's hot. Yeah. And your mom actually got remarried in Hawaii.
She did. Yeah, that was really cool to be a part of. I mean, I obviously didn't see the first one because I wasn't alive. So to walk her down the aisle, that was really special.
Yeah, that was nice. And I think I commented the last time we spoke that you spell Hawaii with an apostrophe, which is very important because most people don't. And that's, my grammar hat comes on when you do that. And when we went to Hawaii as a family a few years ago, I think one of the captions of my album was, I spell it with an apostrophe now. Yeah. It's like official, I wasn't just a tourist. I was like part of it.
Yeah, I think it's good to give respect to the people who have lived there for thousands of years, and that's how they spell their native land. I feel like if you're a tourist especially, you just have to give respect to how they spell it. I'm not going to even try to pronounce their national fish. That's crazy.
Right. Lots of vowels.
Yeah.
Too many. And H's. Let's talk a little bit about your schooling growing up and sort of where you are now. Are you a full-time athlete? Are you doing some education on the side? What's your plan?
So currently, I'm not in school. Full-time athlete, and I coach part-time at the gym that I'm at. Especially with the goal of making the games this year, I really put all my chips in one basket and really wanted to make a run at it. And now that it came back and I was able to make that goal, it means I'm doing the right thing, and I have full belief that I can make this a career for hopefully a full decade. That's the goal. But before that, before COVID, I was a student. And then as things shifted online, I didn't do well in the online environment at all. And so it just clicked that I was meant to leave schooling behind for a bit.
Okay.
But before that, I started CrossFit at 16, and I actually graduated high school at 16. So it was perfect timing. As soon as I graduated high school, I could kind of focus on CrossFit.
Mm-hmm. Are you still at home?
No, I live on my own.
Oh, look at you.
Yeah.
How does that work? If you're a full-time athlete, are you like paying your own way, and
yeah, so I do
t-shirt helping you out?
Yeah. Well, I'm lucky that with my coaching job, I make a little bit of money from that, and I'm super grateful for my parents also financially helping me. They've always been a huge support, and I'm an only child, so that helps a lot. Okay. But my mom recently moved to the opposite side of Canada, to Nova Scotia, to the East Coast. And I'm on the West Coast right now. So there's a bit of time change, but right now she's visiting me. So
nice.
Cool.
Kat and I both have 19-year-olds, so we're also trying to figure out how this works. Our next step has.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh my gosh, no, I am not owning a home anytime soon. It's bizarre.
I can't imagine. So let's talk about your sponsorship.
Yeah, Tier.
How does that come about? I'm always curious to know, like, how that comes to fruition.
So I think it really helped being a part of the DecaComp crew. All three of us going down to Wodapalooza in January. Pat and Ellie made quite a splash on the first day, and kind of Michelle turned some heads. And, for me, finishing in 10th at the end of the weekend was a huge step for me as well, just being a new competitor to the sport. So I think the CEO, Corey, we were put on notice a bit, and Michelle has connections to that company, and Pat was already sponsored by them. So I think right time, right place. They reached out, and we just had a really good chat, and everything kind of came to fruition, and it made sense to go with them, and I'm really excited for the future to be working with a company that's making big moves in CrossFit right now.
Yeah, and Wodapalooza just announced that Tier is going to be their title sponsor in the future.
Yeah, so super exciting.
So Noble's out and Tier is in. I think the judges will be happy and the volunteers will be happy, because I know they did not enjoy wearing their Noble shoes all weekend. Oh. They're slightly uncomfortable.
I haven't worn Noble at all, so I can't speak on that, but I can vouch for Tier shoes that they are comfortable and their runners are great. So
do they have a full line of shoes that you've been able to try?
Yeah, so they have a CrossFit trainer, a running shoe, and a lifting shoe, and all three are great. And I usually haven't worn lifters in the past because I don't like a raised heel, but the Tier lifters aren't as high as, say, the Reebok Legacy lifters, and I really like that. So I've been wearing the lifters and hit some PRs in them. So I'd say they're my lucky shoes.
Very good. Are they wide? Do they have a wider toe box?
They have a wide toe box, yeah. And a flat toe, so there's no lip at the top, so you don't roll forward when you lift. Right.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. I'll have to try those. I'm a shoe experimenter, so anytime a new shoe comes out, I just got the new Rads and I really like them as well. They feel really well constructed.
Really cool.
Yeah, they're
What
super
color?
comfortable. I got the black colorway with the off-white sole.
Yeah.
They're cool. They're rad.
Yeah.
Super rad.
Super
rad.
Freya, what does a typical training day look like for you?
Well, right now with the games going on, it's pretty crazy. It's a full day. Honestly, I wake up, I have my breakfast, and I go to the gym, and honestly, I'm not home until maybe 6:30 p.m. And we're now in the phase of splitting sessions up into 3 sessions just to simulate the games, where you have to wind down, recover, eat some food, actually digest it before you do another intense workout. And so that takes a lot of time. And we're transporting a lot of the gym equipment outside onto a turf and going running and swimming outside and all that. So there's a lot of time set up involved, but it's good. And then, I fully trust Michelle and her programming. So I feel like I'm going to be really prepared when I show up.
Do you fight with Michelle as much as Patrick Vellner does?
No, not at all. I'm new.
He's a pain in the ass, isn't he, with her? The two of them they go at it. I love it.
You should see the group chat.
Oh, I would love to see the group chat.
Oh, it's so funny. But yeah, I'd say I'm newer and younger, and not that
you know your place.
Yeah, Pat really respects Michelle, I can tell, but there is some pushback, and he has a lot of experience and he knows his body really well. So sometimes he'll be like, "Hey, I'm not doing that," or "I'm changing that," or whatever, and that's totally understandable. He's been in the sport for years, so
Sure.
I don't have that experience. I'm just going to listen and do what I'm told.
So Pat is older and grumpier.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, he's a dad now, so he's definitely grumpier.
Yeah.
So is
Owen is the cutest baby, and he doesn't seem like a lot of trouble, so
yeah,
it's pretty lucky.
Yeah. Is it just the two of you guys then, pretty much heads down doing this games training?
Yeah, just
Okay.
Pat and I right now. Yeah.
Was Ellie, before Ellie made the move over to Fort Vancouver, was she with you guys on a regular basis, or was she pretty much did she spend some time in Canada?
She did. So right after Wadapalooza, she came to Canada and was there up until quarterfinals, and then all 3 of us got together for quarters.
Got it. Okay. Do you miss having her around?
I do, but we still keep in touch, and I'm excited to see her at the games. It's cool that we both qualified. I remember talking to her at quarters and being like, "Man, we both have to qualify for the games because then we can be there together." And so now we both did that, and it's awesome.
Yeah, that's great. So, surprise, games training. What are some of the things that you were surprised about in terms of the workload, or are you almost like, oh, I wish for this? Be careful what you wish for.
Probably how many bruises I have on my body right now.
Okay.
But I wasn't expecting that. I'm pretty beat up, but I knew that it would be a progression as the season goes on. So I know that right now it's peak time, peak volume, peak intensity. And I was expecting that, and it is tough, but I'm just trying to stay on top of the recovery as much as I can. And honestly, I'm pretty lucky that I'm feeling really healthy. So I'm happy that my first year, I have no stress of an injury holding me back or anything like that. And I'm really gunning to make moves at the games because it's a whole different ball game compared to semifinals.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on performance enhancing drugs?
They're bad, and it catches me off guard every time someone comes out and is dirty.
Mm-hmm.
Like I totally don't expect anything of that. Like every time morning chalk up or anything like that, post breaking news, someone got popped. I'm like, what? Really? Like again, people they just show up and don't play by the rules. Like it's just unfathomable to me, honestly.
Yeah. Are you suspicious of some of the tainted supplement stories, or do you sort of have an opinion on that?
From what I know, like steroids are expensive, and if you're spending $60 on a 1 pound tub of protein, the chances of having high level stuff in there is really slim. And I mean, companies aren't just sprinkling a super expensive drug into anything like that. So I mean, I don't know what athletes are taking, and I mean, if you're doing stuff right and you're only taking what you need, there's no reason to be taking those crazy fat burning, heart rate adjusting stuff that you see on the shelf. So I don't know. I've never taken those products, so I don't know.
Have you ever been approached by anyone or like heard of them like in the gym? And I'm not speaking of like where you are right now, but is it anything where someone's been like, hey, you know, I tried this and you know, it gave me a third lung or whatever?
No, I haven't been approached. I think, you know, there are communities out there that for sure they're all like, yeah, man, you got to get on this. Like I PR'd 3 times in one day. Like this is sick. Like I definitely do think there's
that's
communities
normal
out there. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I think there's communities out there, but thankfully my gym is like a family oriented gym and there's nothing like that. There's no, like, I'm the only competitive person at my gym, and, you know, people celebrate that. They're not trying to tear you down or get you caught cheating. So.
Right. Yeah. And do we give a pass to people that come out after they've been caught to say, yes, I took it, but please have mercy on me?
I think it's good that, you know, you come clean and honest. You know, I'd way rather see that than, let's say, you go all the way to the games and then you get popped and then you're like, no, it was a tainted supplement, but then years later say, oh, actually, like I did knowingly take that. You know, that kind of leaves a fishy taste in my mouth. Just be honest and upfront, right? If you do something wrong, you know, own up to it.
Yeah. I'm trying to think I mean, I know there've been some men like Ricky Garrard comes to mind, obviously Nicholas Joyal now in terms of individual males. I don't recall any individual females.
Emily
Abbott.
Oh, Emily Abbott, right. You're right.
And
that was a while ago though.
Ellie Board.
The 8th place in the 2019 games.
Oh, you're right. Fragau.
Yeah.
She kept I think she kept Daniel Brandon out of the top 10 that weekend. That would make me mad too. Yeah, Anna Fragau.
It happens on the women's side too.
Yeah, Ellie was team though. She wasn't individual. But yeah, mostly men. Never mind. Just interesting to me.
Freya,
I agree. I think it's dumb.
Do you work with a nutrition coach?
Not currently. I've tracked my macros for years and years on end. So I have a pretty good eyeballing method. And honestly, you know, it works for some people. And I think for me, I get stressed out if I'm knowing that I have 60 grams of carbs to make up, or if I went over 10 grams on my fat. At the end of the day, when I'm lying down in bed, I just want to think about going to sleep. So honestly, I don't stress with that. And I think further down the road, you know, if I think next year I'm going to take more of a in-tune approach to my nutrition. But I think this year there's so many things that I needed to cover, and I was just fueling for how I felt and trying to get in as much food as I could. And I'm going to see how that pays off. But definitely I'm not holding back on plowing down through carbs and baby food and pancakes and all that. So yeah, I don't track, but I definitely do eat a lot.
Well, and I would imagine if Michelle thought you were really off track, that she'd bring you back, you know, into it and say, you know, hey, Freya, maybe we should start tracking. So that's good that at least people are paying attention, that, you know what they're doing and can focus on that while you focus on other things.
Yeah. I do mental check-ins. I weigh myself, figure that all out. And I definitely, water is a huge priority of mine. And I have this jug that tells me how far I need to go throughout the day and all that. So yeah, and I'm on top of supplementation and all that. So, I mean, I think as I have more bases covered and I get more experience, nutrition will be one thing that I hone in probably next year.
Yeah. Do you use like a tracker or anything for like a Whoop or a Garmin, Apple Watch? those kinds of things?
I used to, but I find the whoop was pretty inconsistent, and sometimes I would wake up feeling like absolute trash, and it would be like, you're 99%, let's go. And then my resting heart rate actually gets so low that sometimes it doesn't even track my sleep at night. And so that was annoying. Like when I would wake up and it would say I only get 2 hours of sleep. And I'm like, no, I actually slept 10 hours, but thank you.
I find that too.
Yeah. So and it just gets in the way when you're working out, and my bands would get so dirty, and even though I'd bleach them and wash them, like it just looked gross on my wrist, and it stank.
My band smells bad. It it has like a little, it's almost a smell, like it's bad, but you don't mind it. Like I still smell it a little bit more than I should, even though it doesn't smell good.
Mine stank so bad that other people noticed.
Mine's not that bad yet, I don't think. But yeah, and it, like, you take it off and it's got like this like grimy stuff on it, like soap scum or whatever it is, because I never take mine off. I always love, I train people that wear like Garmin's or Apple Watches or things, and they will like stop in the middle of a workout to be like, it's not picking up my thing. And I'm like, just work out. Like, don't worry about it.
Yeah, exactly. So that, and it's another distraction that honestly I didn't need. Yeah.
Well, assuming at some point you need some kind of mental distraction that aren't in the gym and that aren't related to working out to just get your mind right.
Well, I do like cooking, and it really helps for meal prep and stuff like that. On my rest days, a lot of athletes don't like meal prepping, but I really do, and I get a lot of enjoyment out of that. I put on a good podcast or listen to music, and I just dance in the kitchen, cook my chicken, and or hang out with friends. Like I said, all my good friends are from the gym, but when I'm with them, rarely do we talk about CrossFit when I'm just trying to have a chill day. And I'm close with my mom. I'll FaceTime her for an extended amount of time on my rest days, catch up with family. So I'm pretty good with taking myself outside of the mental stress of competing and just having a chill day. And today's my rest day, so I'm going to go out and hang out with my mom.
Nice. So Monday's a rest day. That's unusual. Do you find that you get more done on the weekends, like Saturday, Sunday training, to not use Sunday as a rest day?
Yeah, and it was honestly to simulate competing. So I think right after quarters, we started training Friday, Saturday, Sunday, because that's the days we compete. And now I'm not sure how I'll change leading up to the games, but we've kept it that way just because we compete Sundays. We don't want to give our body that, oh, we're resting today. Actually, we're not. Final push.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you have any,
I'm curious,
do you live by yourself? Go ahead, Amy.
I was just saying, I'm curious if you train swimming all year round, or do you just start training that like as the games gets closer in semifinals?
We train swimming all year round, and now it's gone up to 2 swim sessions a week. So I would say it was just once a week on an active recovery day, but now we swim on training days as well. So to work out, go to the pool tired, and get a workout in. And actually the other day I had to walk into the pool with 2 dumbbells, and I looked like an absolute weirdo, but no shame now. I'm like, this is it, man. This is the games.
Yeah. I think everybody sort of thinks now that there's going to be a pool swim and not an open water swim. So has that sounds like that's changed sort of how you guys are planning to. It looks like you're doing maybe some Metcon stuff on either end of the pool.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we got to see that swim and stuff event at the COVID games. And so, there is a chance that we're bringing in equipment to that facility in Wisconsin. So we're just trying to do what we can. I mean, there's no way I'm hauling a GHD into my public pool at any time, but we'll figure it out on the fly, and just trying to keep transitions quick and figure out what I can do. And we saw that there's, I think, an event in 2014 where they had bar muscle ups and swimming. So that'd be cool if we got to do something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be cool. What kind of things are you hoping to see? I mean, obviously there's a lot of, odd object things and, crazy runs and stuff like that, are there things that you're maybe looking forward to, and maybe some things that you're kind of like, oh, this is not going to be the greatest?
I am really looking forward to the odd object elements, and I'm like that Friday night, Saturday night lights in the Coliseum. A sprint workout would be amazing. That would be so cool to do. I think that time domain is definitely one of my strengths. So to be able to, just put the blinders on, go full tilt on, let's say, an echo bike or some burpees or a barbell would be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How's your long distance running?
Pretty good. I like to run.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to maybe an obstacle course or some biking and a run and a swim. I don't know, maybe swimming to the arena. I don't know what we're going to do, but, I worked really hard on my cardio, and I'm working on all different time domains of running right now, and I'm pretty confident with it. So.
Awesome.
Yeah.
When you went to the games as a spectator, what year was that?
Both 2018 and 2019.
Okay. So
Yeah.
the year with all the cuts, and then 2018, the last normal year that people would argue we had at the games. Yeah. Were there any events there that sort of got you motivated to really train harder, or where you saw maybe some people that you looked up to accomplish things?
The marathon row.
Right.
I was like, oh wow, okay, they're doing that. Like, maybe I should train that. No, I'm kidding. I haven't done a marathon row, but just seeing them go that hard on the first day and ending on that row, and then them doing the rest of the events, I was like, they're crazy. I need to train so hard to get to this level, even if one day I never get there. There's a possibility of that. But I think one person who really inspired me was seeing Laura Horvath in 2018, where she kind of came out of nowhere and just owned it on the first day, and then ended up getting Rookie of the Year. That was really inspiring, and just shows that anyone can show up and do well. And, she was working for a long time to get to the games. So that was inspiring to see. And I just kept her in mind, and as I was training those last 3 years.
Mm-hmm. Freya, there's so much work that has to be done to put into being really good in the sport. And, there have been other people that have podcasts that say things like, if someone were to come to them and say, I want to win the CrossFit Games, they would say, pick something else, because it's just too hard. Like the odds are forever not in your favor when it comes to this. What sort of drives you to continue, and what gives you that, like, I can do this, and I'm willing to put the work in to sort of do what it takes, knowing that path is not, maybe it is pleasant for you, but like there's a lot of unpleasantness that has to happen before you get there.
Well, I think the biggest thing is taking pride in your work and your small wins. So, maybe, you only see a 1% increase in a certain lift or movement, but, if you put in work and eventually you will get better at it, that's just the most gratifying feeling. And I think if you don't get the absolute most enjoyment out of that, then it's not worth it. But for me, I take such pride in seeing those small 1% increases that, it keeps me coming back. And, I see the leaps when I look back at a year. I'm like, wow, I've progressed so much in those things, and overall as an athlete, mentally and physically. So just seeing that projection of where, it could take me, and looking back at how far I have come, I know that I'm doing the right things and making the right moves and having the right people in my group, or in my corner, that, I am on the right path, and that I do have it both physically and mentally. And having people like Michelle tell me that too, that's really gratifying too.
Mm-hmm. I like that a lot. Who's coming with you to the games?
So my parents, and my mom, my two dads. So I have a stepdad and my biological dad. And then my sister, unfortunately, she can't make it, but she came to Atlas Games. And then I have my best friend who used to be my coach at the gym that I'm at. but she's more so like my wingman, my support, Kelsey. She's come with me to all my competitions, so she'll be there.
Will
And
she
then,
get your coach's pass?
no, Michelle's getting that.
Okay. So
Yeah.
who's getting Pat's coach's pass?
We both declare her as a coach. So we can only have one person back there.
Okay.
And if I don't declare Michelle, then she can't be back with me if Pat's elsewhere.
Interesting. I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
So,
well, yes, you made the right choice.
Yeah.
Michelle needs to be your coach.
I'll need her back there with me. And then, so just family and my best friend.
Do we know if Annika's going to go?
To the games?
Yeah, to watch.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
She's doing Can West here soon,
Yeah.
right?
She is on her way over, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. She was just talking about packing and all that.
I first heard of you through Annika. Like we've been talking to Annika for years, and she was talking about, my new friend who's a beast who you guys have to we're training together. She's going to make a splash. Freya is the bomb. So
yeah, I love her. She's sweet.
What kind of mindset work do you do? Like, I love to ask what kinds of mantras or things that you think about, like when you're lining up for the corrals and getting ready to take the floor. Like, you often see people swaying and rocking and that kind of thing. What kind of mantras do you do?
I don't think that this is PG. Hey, I'm kidding.
No.
Okay. I definitely.
You can say whatever you want to.
Things just got really interesting. Hold on. What's happening here?
Yeah, be real with us.
As the Aussies say, I'm G'ing myself up. So I definitely, I get myself hyped before the event, but slow, deep breaths to calm the heart rate. I mean, I try and tell myself, hey, we're not working out right now. We got to calm down for at least 2 minutes. But in my head, I feel like a bull or like a racehorse, just right before it's let out of the gate, before the gun goes off, like every cell in my body is vibrating, and, it's a feeling like no other. And, sometimes when you go out and do an event and you go out too hot, you kind of have that, oh shit moment, but you bring yourself down and you're like, this is the work that I have to do, and that'll get me to that finish line. I gotta go. And I feel like a lot of the times it's just blank, but your body just takes over and you're able to get through that. But I do work with a sports psych, and I've worked with him for even back in my dance days. So we've developed a really close relationship over the 5 years I've worked with him, and he knows my brain inside and out, and he knows the right things to say, and he's watched some of my events. And, I think I used to get emotionally attached to certain workouts and movements, but now it's just a movement. It's just a workout. So, if you mess up in the middle of a competition, you're not thinking about people watching you mess up. You're just like, oh, I just need to pick up and do that again. So there's no emotion anymore, which I think is the key to progressing mentally as an athlete. You can see sometimes people get distraught emotionally on the floor, and that's really hard to deal with. And I've been there.
Yeah. Does your psych coach or your sports therapist, does he talk to Michelle at all? Like, do you have like 3-way conversations about, your progress and things? So, and the reason I ask is, like, will you have him on speed dial while you're at the games, or will Michelle be sort of channeling his, therapy through her into you?
No, I think they haven't worked together. But I think the mental side is it's very detached to the training side of things.
Okay.
But even though there is a lot of brain body connection, I think what goes on up here is completely different from what your body is actually capable of doing. So if you can tap into that and really make sure you're in the right headspace and frame of mind, then your training that you've done over the years, that will take you far. But yeah, I'll definitely be talking to him throughout the games.
Okay. Yeah, I was wondering, like, when's your last session with him before you leave? Is it like the day before you go, and a big sort of send off with happy thoughts and all that? Did you have any of those oh shit moments at Atlas? When you said like sometimes you go out too hot and you need to sort of bring it down, did you have to sort of employ any of those techniques that you've learned there?
Yeah, I think there are a few events. Like we had a really high heart rate workout with sandbag cleans and tote bar where, I started to redline. There's 4 rounds, and in the 3rd round, I was like, uh-oh, I'm getting there, and I need to bring it back down. But it was just one of those grunt work events where you just had to go, put your head down, and get it done. I think afterwards, I ran over to the bucket and threw up a little bit.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So you went there.
Yeah, I went there. That's for sure. No problem going there whatsoever.
Yeah. Well, I think you can't, right? I mean,
Yeah.
because if you can, then you're holding back, and that's not going to help you either in the long run.
Yeah. And I think a lot of it is just gaining experience. And, so after having that on the first day, I think coming into the 3rd day, I was a little bit reserved because I didn't want to have that moment again. I think the more often you puke, the more it's bad and acidic in your body and all that. So I was like, that first event on the 2nd day, I felt a little bit off just because I didn't know where the line was to push. I didn't want to feel that way again. So, just feeling people pass me and being aware of that, that didn't sit well with me. But luckily, I could take my aggression out on the barbell complex for the next event after. And that I came out swinging with that. So that was good.
Yeah, you did. I mean, you had a 3rd, a 4th, a 9th, a 4th, a 7th, and a 12th.
Yeah, that
outstanding
9th
showing.
and 12th stung a bit, but not every competition is going to go perfect. And going into that final event, I knew that if I just ran my race, the games ticket was there waiting for me at the finish line, and I just had a comforting feeling on that first event. And it would have been nice to have all top 10 finishes, but I think the weekend caught up to me. More so just like emotionally draining too, just that stress of Kate, you got to qualify for the games here, and then finishing and knowing that I qualified. That was a sweet feeling rather than standing on the finish line waiting to hear if I made it or not.
I'm assuming Michelle does a pretty good job of letting you know, and maybe this isn't part of the strategy, but does she leaderboard for you, and does she tell you like you need to beat this girl, or this, make sure she doesn't get ahead of you, or if she does, make sure 3 lanes over doesn't, like, are you aware of that on that last event?
We do talk a little bit about that. I don't think we necessarily pinpoint specific athletes like, oh, you better watch out for her, or come ahead of her. It's more so like, hey, look at your points gap compared to 6th place right now. Like, you have a big cushion, you have 100-point cushion, so don't worry. Just things like that. So, I was in a contention spot all weekend long. So I was really proud to be holding my own, basically my 2nd in-person competition.
Yeah, that's
How did
crazy
you celebrate
impressive.
after you got that ticket?
We all went to Michelle's house afterwards, and her sister is a baker, and she made these custom-made cookies. And mine said, are you happy to see me, or is that just a games ticket in your pocket?
Is that Erica, her sister?
Yeah.
Erica?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
She has a baby too, right? Erica used to be an athlete. I don't know. That's like a little known fact. Back in the day, 14, 15, and then she had a baby and hasn't been in since. And they're twins, right? Are they twins?
2 kids, yeah. Michelle and Erica are twins.
Yeah.
And Michelle showed me a couple of OG video clips of them competing together. And actually, they did the regionals event, the rope climb, legless rope climb, 10 rounds. Yeah.
Oh, very cool.
And I went back and watched the video, and Michelle's like cheering her on. So cool.
Yeah, I think I met Erica at a mid-Atlantic or a Northeast, super regional back when Michelle was there. That's awesome. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, East region. Yeah.
So, when do you leave?
I leave on the 18th, and I'm going to train in Montreal for 2 weeks before we go down to Madison.
Okay. Will Michelle and Pat be with you?
Pat won't. He has a baby and wife, and so he's going to be with them for as long as he can, and then he's heading down. But I think when we all get to Madison, we'll be getting in a group and training together.
Mm-hmm. Are you staying together? Do you have like a big giant Airbnb, or are you staying in a hotel?
Pat scored. I probably shouldn't be saying where he's staying, but he's staying very close to the venue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we didn't book any accommodation because we didn't know if I was going to make the game. So
Sure.
we got an Airbnb with everyone who's coming with me. And then Michelle booked her stuff well in advance because she knows she always has Pat going.
Yeah, I was gonna say Pat probably booked his hotel, the day after last year, like we did, because we knew we'd be going back in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
So what kind of moves or what do you think are some of your strengths as far as, like, is it long endurance, sprint movements, gymnastics, barbell? What do you like?
Sprinting for sure. Anything short time domain. Those are my best place finishes in pretty much any competition that I've been in, both online and in person. And then, I want to say burpees are one of my favorite. Yeah. And I love barbell cycling. So anything short, fast, heavy, that's good. But I've really taken a liking to, longer running, longer biking, anything of that sort. Legless rope climbs aren't my favorite, but rope climbs with legs are. And we do a lot of them in training. So, I mean, hopefully we've done our fair share of legless rope climbs this season so far. So at the games, I'm looking forward to a tall rope, maybe a weight vest in there or something like that battleground event at the 2018 games with the Rescue Randy drag, obstacle course, rope climbs, and a weight vest. That event would be so fun to do.
Yeah, that would be fun. That Randy Rescue was a cool event. And you noticed how, who was it? I think it was Cole Sager who sort of cracked the code on how to carry that most efficiently. So it's neat to get tips like that when you're watching and being able to pass that on to everyone. What would you think about like a chaos event?
Oh, that would be really cool because we do a ton of training of just like going by feel of your body and RPE stuff in our training. So I feel like I know if, someone said go ski until your judge tells you to stop, I'd be able to ski hard, but not too hard that I would be able to look at there's a dumbbell ahead and a box. Like I can feel that out, and I feel like I would do well in that.
Scott wants to know if you're a games history nerd. I don't know if that's a question for you or for me. I know I'm a games history nerd, but are you a games history nerd? Are you a student of the games?
Yes, like I definitely have watched and rewatched all the events, like whatever's uploaded on YouTube, I'll go back and rewatch it. Even all the road to the games, seeing how the athletes train, I implement some stuff that they've done over the years, and I'm a super fan. So it's really cool that I get to go compete against, Tia and Cara and all those girls, and even the American girls. It's just super cool.
Yeah, it is super cool. Have you been on Sevon's podcast yet?
No.
Would you want to be?
No.
No? Okay. Does he scare you a little bit or what?
Intimidate
you?
No. I think if I got a question that was slightly inappropriate, I wouldn't just sit back and, laugh it off. I would probably stand my ground and be like, hey, that's not cool to say, or like even if it wasn't directed at me, if it was just say a misogynistic comment towards someone else, I would just be like, yeah, don't say that. And so I feel like I just don't want to put myself in an awkward situation.
I respect that.
I think I respect that too. I do think he'd be super respectful of you if you were to go on. So I wouldn't, if he did ask you, I wouldn't, I wouldn't not consider it. He's done a lot for the space, and he obviously has, way more viewers than we do in terms of getting your name out there. But I totally understand, as a young woman, maybe being a little bit hesitant in that. What do you think about Andrew Hiller and all his stuff?
I think what he's doing is, I respect it, and maybe, he comes across as, out there, and, he calls out people maybe in a way that isn't the best way to go about it if you want to have friends, but I know he's not doing it to make friends. So, I think some things are a bit of a reach, and he's just using them because they have a big name. Like if maybe they didn't have such a big name in the sport, no one would pay attention to it or pick apart their movements like that. But at the same time, if you are a games athlete and you're posting, hey, I sign up for this competition, I'm here to meet a standard, I think that's important. And I mean, I know that the athletes, at least I know, we're all doing our very best to meet the standard, and we're not trying to get away with stuff.
Mm-hmm.
At least that's what me and Pat do. And
Sure.
we read the rules. I know I've learned a lot from Pat, and he reads over the rule book. He asks a lot of questions at briefings, and we're not trying to ride any line. And I think that's the responsibility you take as an athlete.
Yeah. No, that's a good attitude.
I like this comment. Freya doesn't do no reps. She's safe. Thanks, man.
Right. Yeah. You're a good mover.
I try.
Yeah. If you move well, you don't need to worry about it. You'll never be a subject of one of his videos.
Yeah. I did get no reps on one of my ring muscle ups at Atlas Games, and I was like, oh shoot. Okay.
Do you know what you did? Did they tell you what you did, or do you know what you think you did? Push back.
My rings were a little bit too far outside my shoulders, so it was like, I get it. Like I was super tired, so I probably did fall back, and it was like, oh man, like that took a lot of energy out of me. So I got to do another one. That sucks, but okay.
Was that your only no rep the whole weekend?
On that workout, I think when I was standing up a snatch, I didn't have good control over it, and I let it drop, but that was a rookie mistake.
You knew. Yeah
I should have held on to it and then been like, yeah, good, but I wasn't waiting for my judge's call. I just kind of let it go, and I was like, oh shoot, like I should have, I'm in a competition, like I gotta hold it. And I think for the walking lunge event, I wasn't paying attention to the lines on the ground, and I just did 8 lunges, and I know that's 25 feet for me. And so I dropped the bar, and she's like, no, you got to go back. And I was like, oh shoot, like another rookie mistake. So
well, better to learn it there, right? Than somewhere else. I always feel bad for the athletes who get no repped, and they know they've no repped, right? You've completely failed a lift or something, and you got this judge like doing this big giant no rep hand wave, and they're instructed to do that because for television and things, you want to make sure that it's clear. But I'm always like, oh, it's kind of like salt in the wounds, we know you dropped that barbell. We don't have to strangle you with our hands.
It's funny because my best friend Kelsey, she does all my online competition judging. And she'll no rep me like there's no tomorrow. Like I think we had a quarterfinal workout with wall balls, and on the video she's like on the workout. It's so funny. Like she has no problem doing the theatrics of it. So
do you no rep yourself if you're working out?
Yeah.
Like,
all the time.
Yeah.
Especially things like wall balls, you're like, I need to redo that.
Yeah.
How you do anything is how you do everything, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right.
I've yelled no shit at my judge before.
Yeah, that was Scott. Yeah. And he was a judge once, so.
Yeah.
How about Wadapalooza? How was the judging there?
It was good. I actually made friends with some of my judges, and they followed me on Instagram, and we kind of messaged a little bit here and there. But for that final event, the 55 toe to bar, 55 devil's press, my judge was super strict with making sure my chest got down to the floor in between, and I felt like I was just making out with the ground every time. And I guess I gave him a dirty look, like when I was just looking at him, and he messaged me after. He was like, thanks for those dirty looks for that event. And I was like, oh man, I'm so sorry. And I went up and apologized to him. It was really funny.
That is funny.
Yeah.
Well, Andrew Hiller has joined the chat in case anyone wants to know. He's watching now. So.
Yeah, a bunch
There
of
we
math.
go. Freya.
Uh-oh.
No need
Are those
to know
directed
Repper.
at me?
No,
No.
I think that just means he's here.
Okay.
So it's interesting that you said that some of your judges DM'd you afterwards and like your friends, because I know that when I started judging, sort of the same thing happened, right? Like you sort of befriend these people, you see them around, and you are fans of them, and it's hard. You want to make sure that they're being partial, you know, like if you get those people again in your lane, that they're not going to just, you know, let your bad movement slide, which I'm not saying you have bad movement, but
For sure.
somebody's bad movement slide.
You know, even in Andrew's videos, he's calling out certain athletes and he's like, well, you know, this is a video of them in training. And so obviously they're practicing like they're competing. Do you think they're going to change on competition day? No. So
Right.
like that's why you do train good movements in your practice.
Right. Unless the head judge comes by, and then typically the movement gets a little better. I know. I know
Yeah.
that happens too sometimes.
Yeah.
We saw some of that at Strength and Depth.
Yeah, we saw that. We say that everywhere. I'm actually for Masters Fitness Collective. It's a Masters competition in Fort Wayne, Indiana. I'm the head judge there, and I mean, judges get so much crap from athletes. I mean, I've had people heckle me during a workout. You know, like they're supposed to be working out, and I'm 3 lanes over, and they're still yelling at me about something that I came over and like overruled about. So it's definitely a thankless job, but I do appreciate everything that Andrew's doing, and for the sport, I think it's just helping to elevate movement standards and things like that. Hopefully you won't have any issues with that in Madison, and it'll all be fine. How excited are you for all the swag?
Oh, so excited.
You better bring some extra suitcases with you.
Well, with all the traveling going on, I'm not sure if you guys seen the airports and the baggage just being left everywhere and all that. It's like a gong show. So I'm actually thinking I'm traveling to the games carry-on.
Oh, look at you.
And I'm going to have to buy some stuff down there like socks and toothpaste, but should be okay. But yeah, I don't want to run the risk of losing all my stuff. The airports in Canada at least, and I think over in Europe. I'm not sure what the States situation is like right now, but in Canada, at Vancouver International Airport, it looks like there's construction going on, but if you pull back the plastic sheet, there's just a mountain of suitcases, just like lost luggage.
Wow.
So, and I don't want to run the risk of losing anything. So, I mean, I'm going on a 3-week trip, first 2 weeks in Montreal, and then 1 week in the States. Hope with all carry on. So I'm gonna have to ship all my stuff back.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's what you'll do, right? You'll ship it.
Yeah.
It's a shame you're not just driving. I mean, I know it's an insane drive, so that wouldn't make sense. But for people on the East Coast, driving is the way to go for sure, because you can pack all the things. All the things. Are you hoping to maybe get an invite to Rogue this year? And if so, would you go?
Oh, 1,000% I would go. I mean, I am planning on doing Wodapalooza. Whether if I get an invite, if not, then I'll do the online qualifier. I just want to go back. But you know, it would be a lot of off-season competing if I got the chance to do both. But I definitely would, because that's, I feel like, again, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
Sure. Do you have any desire to do like Dubai or anything, or is that just kind of out of the realm?
Not this year, and still with travel and COVID and all that, it's a little bit more of a hassle, and travel is expensive. So I think, you know, and I've heard some things that, you know, Dubai is a great competition, but sometimes things run late and all that. And, you know, I've had the luxury of going to well-run events like Wodapalooza and the semifinals and all that, that it would kind of shake you up a little bit because they're so well-run.
Yeah. Everyone does love Miami, and your girl Annika will be there next winter too, right? She's headed down. Yeah. Isn't she's moving, right?
She's moving there, so I assume she'll do the competition again.
So how do you what's your plan for after the games? How will you recuperate? How will you kind of recharge yourself after that experience?
So right after, I'm going to come home and see everyone from my gym and hang out with them and just kind of celebrate. But then right after, I'm going to Italy with my dad for a week.
Oh, fun.
Yeah. So just a vacation.
Where?
Eat some pasta and gelato, Rome and Sicily.
Have you been there before?
So there's a great gym in Rome. Sorry.
Okay. A gym?
CrossFit Trastevere.
Okay.
In Rome, and it's really nice. When I went to Rome in February of 2020, I went there like 3 times that week, and it was awesome.
Oh man. Well, I'm not planning on working out.
Okay.
But maybe to like bike off some pasta and gelato.
Yeah.
Amy, that's when you brought COVID back to the States, right? Back in February 2020?
I've still never tested positive for any COVID.
Ground zero, your flight.
Mm-hmm. Aw.
We're teasing. That reminds me, Amy, of when we interviewed Justin Kotler and we told him we were going to be at West Coast Classic and we were hoping on Monday to come and hang out at the gym and like talk to the athletes. And he's like, none of the athletes are going to be at the gym on Monday.
Yeah.
Like a weekend after a semifinal, like they'll be gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just reminded me of that. Like, oh, there's a great gym. Yeah, I'm not going to be working out.
Yeah. Maybe. We'll see. I'm going to be chilling, eating my pasta.
Hey, and maybe you'll be celebrating. Maybe you'll be celebrating your, Rookie of the Year award.
That would be so cool. I mean, there's a lot of rookies going. I thought that teen athletes that have competed in the teen category that turn individual, I thought, they don't
count, right?
Yeah, but no,
they do.
Individual.
I know that would be good for you though, right? Because you're like one of the few that hasn't, had that teen experience in Madison yet. You get to go for the first time, but you know what? That's going to be so cool for you, as an individual to go in that open division, for your first experience. I think is going to be amazing. Let's just talk quickly before we shut down here. Goals for the weekend.
Yeah, so I'd love to make top 20 to be able to complete the whole games. Those cuts are a little daunting, but I know that the games are a different ballpark, and I've been training so much volume that I will be able to handle 3 to 5 workouts a day. And, I saw that at Atlas, I started out really strong and I held on. So I feel like I'm not going to, show up, and even if it's a swim or an outside event, I'm not going to come like a bottom placing having to work my way up. But even if I do, say, stumble a little bit, the challenge of working my way up doesn't bother me at all. So, I really want to be able to have the opportunity to complete all the events at the games.
Have you given Pat a pep talk about the swim event yet?
He's worked so hard on his swimming this year, and him and I, when we trained together, we were in the pool twice a week. So he's going twice a week.
Okay. So if it doesn't pay off,
I give Pat swim lessons. I'll make that clear.
I was going to say, I mean, some people are just not meant to swim. And I feel like this year, if we still have an issue with Pat and his swimming, that it's just got to be one of those things that he's just not built for it. He's just not meant to be a fish. I hope so. Yeah. We're big Pat fans, so we definitely want him to do well. He isn't Pat as a human flotation device. Yeah. A ginger human flotation device. Well, Freya, it's been a pleasure. I'm crossing my fingers and hoping that this audio works for everyone. It sounds fine now. It sounded fine the last time. So hopefully this works for us, but it's been great. And we'd love to have you back, when you're back from Italy, and we can talk about, all of your wins and surprises and experiences in Madison this year. So best of luck to you. And thanks so much.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah. Scott, can you take us away there, bud?